Welcome to AiTales, the channel where AI meets storytelling. Our goal is to push the boundaries of storytelling by incorporating the latest advances in artificial intelligence technology. We use AI to create immersive and interactive stories that blur the lines between reality and fiction. With our unique approach, you'll experience stories like never before, with personalized narratives that adapt to your choices and preferences. So join us on this exciting journey as we explore the possibilities of AI-powered storytelling. Welcome to AiTales. And let us begin. As the sun set over the streets of Marseille, a group of men gathered in a dark alleyway. Their faces were hidden by shadows, but their intentions were clear. They were members of the Algerian Mafia, one of the most feared criminal organizations in France. Their leader, a man known only as the Boss, spoke in a low voice. "We have a problem," he said. "The police are closing in on us. We need to act fast." The other men murmured in agreement, their faces tense with worry. The Boss continued, "We need to send a message. Show them that we are not to be messed with." He paused for a moment, his eyes scanning the faces of his followers. "I have a plan," he said. "We are going to hit one of their safe houses tonight. Take everything they have. Money, drugs, weapons. Leave nothing behind." The men nodded, their resolve hardened by the thought of revenge. The Boss gave them each a task, assigning roles and responsibilities for the night's mission. As they dispersed into the night, their footsteps echoing in the empty streets, the members of the Algerian Mafia knew that they were risking everything. But they also knew that they had each other, and that was all they needed to survive in this dangerous world. The sound of shattering glass pierced the night as the members of the Algerian Mafia broke into the police safe house. They moved with precision and efficiency, grabbing weapons and cash as they went. The Boss stood watch, keeping an eye out for any signs of trouble. Suddenly, a voice rang out from behind them. "Freeze! This is the police." The men spun around, guns at the ready. They were outnumbered, but they were not afraid. The Boss stepped forward, his eyes blazing with determination. "You think you can stop us?" he said. "We are the Algerian Mafia. We do not bow to your laws." The police hesitated for a moment, caught off guard by the boldness of the Mafia leader. But then they raised their weapons, ready to fire. A fierce gun battle erupted, bullets flying in all directions. The members of the Algerian Mafia fought with skill and bravery, taking down several police officers before retreating into the night. As they regrouped in their hideout, nursing their wounds and counting their loot, the Boss spoke again. "This is only the beginning," he said. "We will not rest until we have taken over this city. And then, the entire country." The men cheered, their spirits buoyed by the promise of power and wealth. They knew that they were on the brink of something big, something that could change their lives forever. But little did they know that their actions had not gone unnoticed. The police were hot on their trail, determined to bring down the Algerian Mafia once and for all. And they would stop at nothing to make sure that justice was served. The police had been tracking the movements of the Algerian Mafia for weeks. They had gathered enough evidence to make several arrests, but they knew that the real challenge would be taking down the Boss himself. One night, they finally got their chance. The police raided the Mafia's hideout, storming in with guns drawn. The members of the Mafia fought back fiercely, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. In the chaos, the Boss managed to slip away. He ran through the streets, dodging bullets and ducking into alleyways. But he knew that he could not run forever. As he rounded a corner, he came face to face with a police officer. The two men stared at each other for a moment, both knowing that this was the moment of truth. But then something unexpected happened. The police officer lowered his gun and held out his hand. "Come with me," he said. "We can work something out." The Boss hesitated, unsure of what to do. He had always been taught to never trust the police and to never show weakness or vulnerability. But as he looked into the officer's eyes, he saw something that he had never seen before. He saw compassion, understanding, and a willingness to see beyond the surface. Slowly, hesitantly, the boss reached out and took the officer's hand. Together, they walked away from the violence and chaos of the mafia, towards a new future of cooperation and understanding. And as they walked, the boss knew that he had made the right decision. He knew that he had finally found a way to break the cycle of violence and hate that had consumed his life for so long. And he knew that he had finally found a glimmer of hope in a world that had seemed so dark and hopeless. As the boss walked away from the life of the Algerian Mafia, he began to see the world with new eyes. He no longer saw everything as a threat or everyone as an enemy. Instead, he saw possibilities, and he saw potential. With the help of the police officer who had reached out to him, the boss began to build a new life for himself. He got a job and a small apartment and slowly began to rebuild his sense of self-worth. But he never forgot where he came from, or the lessons he had learned along the way. He knew that there were still people out there who were trapped in the same cycle of violence and despair that he had once been a part of. And so he decided to use his experiences to help others. He became a mentor to young people who were at risk of falling into a life of crime, sharing his wisdom and his hard-won knowledge with anyone who would listen. He also worked with the police, sharing information and insights that only someone with his background could provide. Together, they were able to dismantle several criminal organizations and bring justice to those who had been victimized by them. Over time, the boss became a respected member of the community, someone who was known for his courage, his compassion, and his dedication to making the world a better place. And though he knew that he could never fully make up for the harm he had caused in the past, he also knew that he could use his present and his future to try to create something good. As he looked out at the world around him, he knew that there was still much work to be done. But he also knew that he was not alone and that together, with the help of others, he could make a real difference in the world. Years passed, and the boss continued to work tirelessly to make a positive impact in his community. He had become a role model to many, and his story had inspired countless others to turn away from lives of crime and violence. But despite all of his efforts, there were still those who refused to listen. There were still criminal organizations that operated in the shadows, preying on the vulnerable and the powerless. One day, the boss received a call from an old acquaintance. It was someone he had known from his days in the mafia, someone who he had thought was lost to the world of crime forever. But the voice on the other end of the line was different now. It was filled with desperation and fear, and the boss knew that something was wrong. He agreed to meet with his old acquaintance, hoping that he could help in some way. When they met, the man told the boss about a new criminal organization that had sprung up in the city, one that was even more ruthless and violent than the one the boss had been a part of. The man begged for help, and the boss knew that he could not turn him away. He gathered his resources, both legal and otherwise, and began to investigate the new organization. What he found was shocking. The new group was led by a former member of the mafia, someone who had been pushed out and left for dead. He had harbored a grudge for years and had now built a criminal empire that was more powerful than anything the boss had ever seen. But the boss was not deterred. He knew that he had to stop this new organization before it caused any more harm. He rallied his allies, and together, they launched a full-scale assault on the group. The battle was fierce and intense, but in the end, the boss emerged victorious. The new organization was dismantled, and the former mafia member who had led it was arrested and brought to justice. As he looked out at the destruction around him, the boss knew that there would always be those who sought to harm the world. But he also knew that there would always be those who were willing to fight back, stand up for what was right, and to make a difference in the world. And as he walked away from the scene of the battle, he knew that he had done just that. He had used his experiences, his courage, and his compassion to make a real difference in the world, and he had done it in a way that he could be proud of. Years went by, and the boss continued to be a beacon of hope and inspiration for those around him. His work not only brought down criminal organizations but also brought awareness to the root causes of crime and poverty. He had started a foundation to help at-risk youth, providing them with education, job training, and mentorship. His foundation was now known throughout the city for its positive impact, and it had even gained the support of local government officials. The boss had also written a book about his experiences, detailing his journey from the Algerian Mafia to becoming a force for good in his community. The book had become a bestseller, inspiring countless others to follow in his footsteps and make a difference in the world. As he looked back on his life, the boss realized that his experiences had shaped him into the person he had become. His journey had been difficult, but it had also taught him valuable lessons about the power of redemption, the importance of community, and the strength of the human spirit. He had come a long way from the young man who had joined the Algerian Mafia in France, and he was grateful for every step of the journey. And as he looked out at the world around him, he knew that there was still work to be done. But he also knew that he was not alone and that together, with the help of others, they could make a real difference in the world. With that thought in mind, the boss smiled and walked forward, ready to continue the work of making the world a better place. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you've enjoyed the tale we've shared and that it has captured your imagination and taken you on a journey. If you enjoyed our content, please consider liking and sharing the video to help spread the word and support our channel. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you soon for more mesmerizing tales.